Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. I'm back with one more NFL video for you, the last NFL video of this season. We've got a DraftKings Showdown game for the Super Bowl. There is massive amounts of money to be won this weekend on Super Bowl Sunday. I hope you guys have had a really good week and a half. If you played the Pro Bowl, we're gonna have to talk. Okay. God bless you if you played the Pro Bowl. I hope that you won. I have no idea how you predict anything that's going to happen in a Pro Bowl setting, but God bless you guys who really grinded it out on that Pro Bowl slate. I hope that golf is going well for you. I hope that NBA is going well for you. But we have a showdown slate on DraftKings for this Super Bowl. $4 million GPP with $1 million up top, $10 entry fee. I'm going to do this video a little bit differently than I've done some of the showdown videos in the past. Okay, all the same rules apply. Okay, we're going to build lineups the same way that we're going to build lineups in this week as we did all the other weeks previous. Correlation is important. Matching your quarterback with your pass catcher, if you've got a pass catcher at that captain spot, quarterback with their wide receiver or a tight end, is the way that you want to build those lineups. Totally get that. We know that 11% of the showdown winners ever have always had a quarterback in the captain spot. Quarterbacks have a really high raw projection in terms of their median projection, but we're more concerned with ceilings. We want to tell a story with this lineup, meaning that I'm fine building contrarian lineups in this if you want to, or go against the grain, as long as that lineup makes sense. But I think that we have some players that are going to be extremely chalky in this. One, based on their price. Two, based on public perception. Three, based on the way that you have to build these lineups. So let's go through it a little bit. We're going to talk about a lot of the players in this breakdown, and we're gonna just do the things that we always do, but I'm gonna do it a little bit differently, going kind of player by player, try and give you a couple of stats about a lot of the guys and allow you to make your own decisions. I'm not here to give you plays. I'm not here to give you a lineup. I'm not here to give you picks. I never have been. I never will be. I'm here to try and teach you how to fish, as opposed to just giving you a lineup, have you cut and paste it, because you don't want to have overlap. You want to be able to build lineups on your own. One request from me. I have started a second YouTube channel in the off season for NFL. I'm going to be recording a podcast. It's going to be uploaded to that YouTube channel. There is a link down below in the pinned comment. If you would do me the solid of subscribing to that channel, even if you're not interested in the video game content that's going to be on that channel, even if you're not interested in that possible podcast, which is going to be me interviewing a bunch of content creators from a lot of different spaces, podcasts, fantasy football, television, streaming, YouTube creators, all that stuff. Even if you don't plan on listening to that, if you have enjoyed my stuff during the NFL season, drop me a subscribe over there. You don't have to ring the notifications bell if you don't want to, but I'm trying to get that channel monetized. I need 1,000 subscribers for them to actually get me to that point. So if you would do me that favor, give me those 2 clicks, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's get to this slate. After that really long intro, thank you for sticking with me through the really long intro, but Patrick Mahomes is going to be a very big point of contention on this slate, because we know what he can do, especially with a game that's got a total as high as this one. What's it, around 54 right now? A lot of scoring expected. And he's really pricey at 12.6K, much higher than that in the captain spot, 18.x in the captain spot. You're going to have to really, if you're going to play him in captain, if you think he's going to have a 35-point day, and if he has that 35-point day, spreads it around to all of his receivers where none of them have a 30-point day. And it's much easier for a pass catcher or a running back to have a 30-plus point DraftKings day, and at a much cheaper price than Patrick Mahomes at the captain spot when you 1.5x that score. To be able to fit Patrick Mahomes, I think he's going to be over 90% owned between flex and captain. He's been outstanding 2 games in a row with 50 rushing yards this postseason. So they've actually utilized his legs and activated him on the ground a little bit more, which has raised his already high floor. In the 2 postseason games this year, 615 passing yards and 8 touchdowns in those 2 games. Now he does face the toughest test that he's had to throw against with San Francisco in this really tough defense. There's 2 things that are kind of working against one another here, right? So we've got the immovable force against the impenetrable object, where Andy Reid lifetime coming off of bye weeks, and make no mistake, the Super Bowl with a 2-week gap between the championship game and the Super Bowl itself is, to me, essentially another bye week. So now you've got a situation where Andy Reid has 2 weeks to prepare. And in these situations where he has had 2 weeks to prepare, he's been amazing. I don't see anything that's going to be different there, except for the fact that if we look back at Super Bowls over the last 25 years, if we look back at every Super Bowl, 50 plus of them at this point, teams that have finished the year as a top 2 defense in the league, and the San Francisco 49ers are a top 2 defense in the league this year, are 15-5 in those 50-something Super Bowls that we've seen so far. We've seen the Patriots, when they were a great defense going up against the greatest show on turf in the Rams in the early 2000s, beat them on the field and hold that Rams team to a lot less points than everybody thought. We saw the Buccaneers do the same thing to the Raiders when Chucky went from Oakland to Tampa Bay. We saw the New York Giants do it twice to the New England Patriots. And we've seen it time and time and time again, where we've had these diametrically opposed teams, great offense versus great defense, you know, historical offense versus historically great defense. And the defenses tend to do better than the offenses. So I'm not saying fade Patrick Mahomes. I'm saying I probably would rather have Patrick Mahomes as a flex play, because if Patrick Mahomes has a monster day, right? If he has one of these 35 or 40 point days, I believe the money is going to be better spent, unless the monster day comes with, like, you know, 1 or 2 touchdowns on the ground. That money is probably going to be better spent on his pass catchers in the captain spot than on Patrick Mahomes in the captain spot. His counterpart, one James Garoppolo, is priced way down from him at only $8K, almost at a value spot. And I think that too many people are going to be focused on the amount of passes that he threw in the championship game and the amount of passes that he threw the week before, with what, like 27 passes total, 19 and 8 in the playoffs that he's thrown. Jimmy Garoppolo averaged 29.5 pass attempts per game. This game projects to play a lot faster. If you look at the pass attempts that he threw in the big games that he had this year, 35 against New Orleans, 34 points, 45 against Arizona. Obviously, they're not as bad a defense as Arizona or Seattle. 46 attempts against Seattle, but only scored 13 DraftKings points. 37 attempts against Arizona the other time, 30 DraftKings points. 25 against Cincinnati, but he was very efficient with 3 touchdowns, 23 DraftKings points. I think it's very realistic to think that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to throw it 33 to 38 times in this game. And if he does throw it 33 to 38 times in this game, then you're going to see his pass catchers get way more targets than they have the past 2 weeks. And their prices have been depreciated for guys like Kittle, for guys like DEEBO Samuel, definitely Emmanuel Sanders, 100% Kendrick Bourne. They don't throw the ball that much to their running backs. So the pass catchers that are on the outside have seen their prices come down, as well as Jimmy Garoppolo, whose price should not be 12K like Patrick Mahomes, but probably should be around 10 to 10.5, and he's discounted all the way down to 8. You can get away with him in your captain spot. The games that he has thrown 25 plus passes this year, he's averaged 25 DraftKings points per game in those games. His touchdown percentage rises and his interception percentage shrinks when he's targeting the slot. In Kansas City, much worse at defending the slot than they are defending the perimeter, where they've actually been quite good this year. And there's only been one time this season that a quarterback has not thrown the ball 25 times against Kansas City. And that was when Tannehill went in there with the Titans and beat them in week 10. So that's the one way that Jimmy Garoppolo does not throw 25 passes, is if they have a game script, much like those last 2 games, where they won by 17 against Green Bay and they won by 17 against Minnesota, and they get up to an early and large lead. And then they lean on their running backs like RAHEEM MOSTERT, who has been an absolute animal the last 2 games and has been tremendous on the whole this season. A career 6.2 average yards per carry, leads all running backs in 2020 with a minimum of 100 carries, in carries gaining 5+ yards, which he's done 45.5% of the time. That's absurd. And 10+ yards 17.4% of the time. So big plays waiting to happen. Part of that is because of how great this 49ers scheme and offensive line and fullback and tight end are collectively at run blocking, not just for him, but he is doing a great job of reading the holes and creating those big runs because of how great San Francisco does at creating yards before first contact. And now you get him into the secondary, and now he's a monster once he gets to that second level. If they get a lead and it's not through the air, and it's the defense maybe gets a touchdown or a kick return for a touchdown, or they get a short field and Mostert runs one in, and there's more to talk about with Mostert because Coleman, who left the field with his shoulder completely out of the socket, is he ready to go? And we don't know yet at the time that I'm recording this video, and it is Tuesday morning of Super Bowl week that I'm recording this video. We don't know if Coleman's a full go or 50-50, or he's going to sit the game, or if Breida is going to cut into the work with Mostert, or if Mostert is going to get 20 plus touches. So all of that is yet to be defined, and I can't give you a route, which I honestly think that's going to go because I don't have all the information. And just like a poker player, as we are right now somewhat a little bit closer to the under the gun position and we're not anywhere close to the button, the hand has not moved around the table yet, but it will by the time lineups lock on Super Bowl Sunday. We'll have more information, be able to make a more informed decision once that information gets here. But as of right now, Raheem Mostert looks like a very, very, very good high volume play at a lower cost if you predict that San Francisco is going to win this game. Because if they get ahead, just like we've seen the last 2 weeks, if they're playing from ahead, they are not going to throw the ball all that much. And the blueprint has been put out there on how to beat this Kansas City team, and it's to pound the rock and run the hell out of the ball and keep their offense off the field. If your defense can keep them from scoring, and if there's a defense that could keep them from scoring, it is the San Francisco 49ers, and you can grind out points on the ground, then we could see a very similar game script to what we've seen the last 2 games from these San Francisco 49ers, which is ground and pound, hand it to Mostert. If Coleman or Breida are there, spread some carries to them too. I'm not predicting a 51-point game for Raheem Mostert. I'm not predicting 4 touchdowns again for Raheem Mostert. But in the case that they're playing from ahead, and in the case that this Super Bowl plays out like a lot of those differentiated matchups, top offense versus top defense, have played out in Super Bowls in previous years, this could be a very heavy Raheem Mostert game, and you should build lineups for the game script that you're predicting. So if you think the Chiefs are going to win this game, how are the Chiefs going to win this game, and how can you build lineups along those lines? So if you think that the Chiefs are going to win this game, I've said that I don't want to have Mahomes in captain, although he will have the highest median projection. If they win this game, how are they going to win? If they score 35 points against this San Francisco defense, is it going to be with Tyreek Hill getting multiple touchdowns, one of them being a long one? Are you going to plug him into your captain spot? I think a lot of people are going to, but I think he's extremely pricey, especially considering that Damian Williams, with the work that he's done as the lead back the last few weeks and the consistency that he's had and the carries inside the 5, all leading to these 5 touchdowns on the ground, a 6th one through the air the last 3 weeks, last 3 games have been tremendous. But the highest floor ceiling combo for me is probably Travis KELCE of all those pass catchers. Yes, I know that 2 of his last 3 games have not been big. I know that he's had those 5 and those 6-point games. But if we look at him over the course of this season, and we know that Andy Reid has 2 weeks to prepare for this game and scheme against this defense to get his players into the spaces that they need to be solid and productive, we realize that we're talking about a floor in the mid to low teens and a ceiling all the way up here in the 40s for somebody like Travis KELCE if they score that 30 plus points and it doesn't come off of all gadget plays to Tyreek Hill. But there is one player that I think in the captain spot or in the flex is going to be there to open up a lot of value for you, and that's going to be Mecole Hardman at 2,200. I expect him to be extremely popular this weekend, both in the captain and in the flex spot. He opens up value for you either way. You don't have to plug him into captain. He did out-route. He didn't out-snap, but he out-routed Demarcus Robinson in the championship game 16-12 in their last game. He did only have that 1 target, but he ran more routes than Demarcus Robinson. Compared to the game before in the divisional round, where Robinson ran 21 routes to Mecole Hardman's 8, Robinson had a couple of drops. Maybe they trust Hardman more. Maybe he puts them in a position to do things offensively, even if he's a decoy to open things up for other players, at least he's out in the route, and that's something that we're looking for. And he returns punts. So yes, he could get a big play. He's always a big play waiting to happen. You might get one of those jet sweeps where it's not a handoff, but they do a touch pass. They snap it in the pistol or the shotgun to MAHOMES, and he just kind of taps it, tap pass to Mecole Hardman. That counts for us as a catch in receiving yards. And we've seen him take those a long distance this year multiple times. And if we're predicting that he's going to run more routes, and if you're predicting that he's going to have a good amount of targets, he had 4 games this year, Mecole Hardman did, where he had 5+ targets. And in those games, he had over 60 receiving yards in 3 of them, with a 30+ yard catch in 3 of those games, and a touchdown in 2 of those 4. So if you're looking for somebody who has a low floor, but a high ceiling, if he has one of those special games, a Desmond Howard sort of game, where maybe he returns a kick for a touchdown, and maybe he gets a long play on a touch pass or a handoff or something, you have that going for you. You also have the increased correlation, albeit a very low percentage of happening, but the increased correlation with Mecole Hardman and that Kansas City defense, considering that he does return kicks. And if you think that Jimmy Garoppolo, who has made mistakes this year and has shown a tendency when he's had to throw it a lot to throw interceptions, both in the preseason and the regular season, if you believe that this Chiefs defense can put him in those spots to make him make enough mistakes or take sacks if they're playing from ahead, if you think the Chiefs are going to play from ahead, Chiefs defense to me becomes a lot better play. You want quarterbacks that are going to drop back against your defense. If you think that San Francisco is going to be playing from ahead and only drop back 15 times, and the Chiefs defense to me is out of play, even if you think that the 49ers are only going to score 13 points, because you need quarterback dropbacks to produce points on defense, or at least have more opportunities to produce points on defense. So that's what we're going to attack in that situation. And again, like I said, the correlation between Mecole Hardman and that Chiefs defense, albeit small, is something that you might want to have in the back of your mind if you're building multiple lineups, or if you're building a single lineup and trying to completely differentiate with a Ricky Bobby type approach, that I'm either going to finish in first place if Mecole Hardman returns a kick, or I'm going to finish all the way in last place if he doesn't. Just know what you're getting into when you make that sort of a play. Kickers are also there to open up value, as there's not a lot of value plays on the board that are really exciting to me. Kendrick Bourne at 3,400, 6 touchdown receptions this year on only 34 catches. I do think that they're going to throw the ball more this week. I'm not sure how involved Kendrick Bourne is going to be. I think that he is at best 4th on the pecking order, behind Kittle, obviously. I don't know if he can be defensed. I'm not saying, well, the defense against tight ends. Defense against tight ends from a defense versus position standpoint is very noisy, because not all teams feature their tight ends. So guys like Kittle and guys like KELCE kind of break the mold, unless you have a like for like, where a team has shut down other high volume superstar all pro caliber tight ends before, that you can say this is what happens. Otherwise, it can tend to be noisy, both with teams that are bad against tight end, because maybe they've only played teams that are all pro at tight end, or maybe they've played people that only throw the ball twice at tight end, like, oh, they don't give up any points to tight ends, but they haven't played anybody. Different story. Obviously behind DEEBO Samuel as well. We're projecting that he's going to throw it 35 times, and DEEBO Samuel's targets are going to look a lot better than 3. But he has not had big games other than against Seattle and Arizona in this 3-week stretch, where he saw something like 28 targets. Not expecting that many, but these 6 to 8 target range is certainly in play for somebody who is great after the catch and great after first contact, and comes at a bit of a value. Emmanuel Sanders is the most discounted of the higher volume wide receivers for Jimmy Garoppolo, and will come in at a lower percentage owned than that first pairing of Kittle and or DEEBO Samuel. So if you're looking to do that, I'm not against it. If you need to find that value guy who's got a little bit of upside, and plays a lot of more snaps in the slot, where Kansas City is more vulnerable, as well as, then I said, if you're going for Ricky Bobby touchdown or bust, you might take like a 0 to a 2 from Kendrick Bourne for 3,400, or you might catch lightning in a bottle and get a touchdown when they get close, because he is utilized more once they get inside the 10-yard line. Defenses and kickers, all going to come down to what you think. You may need to use a kicker on this slate a little bit more than you would on a normal showdown slate. I'm probably not going to use more than 2 of a kicker plus defense in any lineup, I'm going to go for as much upside as possible, especially with the highest scoring game as this one is going to be, or is projected to be. Kickers in play, defense is less in play, unless you're telling a specific story with your lineup that's going to lead you down that route. I hope that you guys have fun watching the Super Bowl. I don't care who wins this game. I personally just want a very competitive game. I want a fun game. I want scoring. I don't want the same thing that we had last year, 9-6, whatever nonsense, boring Super Bowl with no scoring and no back and forth. I want a little bit of scoring. I'd love to see it approach the total of 54. We get some touchdowns. We get some big plays and great plays, some great players. And I hope that if I don't win a GPP this weekend, that one of you guys do. Appreciate y'all hanging out once again. Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel. If you got the time for me, please subscribe to the second channel, Al Smizzle Games. I would greatly appreciate that as well. And I will be back next week with some XFL videos as XFL hits DraftKings as it kicks off on February the 7th. So until then, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
He's a legend.